the Knightmare monsters are still going to be insane come Master Roll 5. What's going on, you guys? Slim here to talk about some of my favorite cards in the game, and just to talk about how even with Master Roll 5 on the horizon in a couple months, I still feel that these specific Link monsters will still be some of the best cards in the game. I think they've honestly gotten better because of Master Roll 5, and I think that more players will see that they will definitely still be including them in their decks as much as they do right now. If you guys are new here, consider subscribing, hit the notification bell. You guys will get updated whenever I upload. And yeah, we're going to talk about the Knightmare monsters because I absolutely love them to death. Now I know, disclaimer, you can already see we've got 2 ban cards here, but I had to bring them up because, you know, I had to talk about all 6 Knightmares, and I'm going to talk about these 2 real quick. So Mermaid, of course, we already know why this card got banned. This card got banned because of Orcus, and we know that if Orcus get hit, people think this card could potentially come back. Would it be worth it? I have no idea. I don't think it's worth you know, thinking about it like that, because we know they're going to deal with Orcus, but I don't think they're going to bring this card back. This card has caused so many problems. It made it to where every deck just could play Orcus, and it basically became your deck plus Orcus, and it was so ridiculous. So this card was insane, and we knew that even in the beginning when these cards first came out, this card was great, and that, you know, it helped make the U-Link, it helped do so many crazy things, and of course we've seen what it did for every deck that wanted to incorporate Orcus, and I honestly feel that this card probably won't be coming back, but I had to talk about it just because, you know, it is one of the Knightmares. And of course, what do I need to say about an extra summon? This card is never coming back. I hope this card doesn't come back. This card is so ridiculous. This card was like the problem for so many decks. Goki literally abused all of these cards, and this was the card that they abused the most. This card was so insane, and just overall, like, this card, I don't even understand why this card was made. Like, this card was insane, and, you know, that additional summon just made them just extend to infinity and beyond, and literally just, you know, you were getting Gumblar looped, you were losing everything, you just were not playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And yeah, this was probably one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful Knightmare cards out of all 6, so yeah, just had to bring the 2 banned cards up, and now we're going to talk about the main cards that we probably will see come Master Roll 5. Now, I know that a lot of players are debating, okay, you know, we only have 15 extra deck spots. How in the world do we dedicate, you know, any space to, like, Link monsters depending on what our strategy is? And that's exactly what it is. It comes down to what your strategy is. It comes down to, are you playing a stun deck? Are you playing a control deck? Are you playing a combo deck? You know, you look at all the different decks that you could play. If you're playing, of course, like a Pot of Extravagance deck, none of these cards matter. If you're playing a deck like True Draco that doesn't play an extra deck, or Domain Monarchs, you know, same thing. None of these cards matter. But for all the other decks, we have seen that first and foremost, Phoenix and Unicorn have been the most played cards. These cards have been in so many extra decks, and for good reason. You already know, being able to destroy a back row, being able to spin any card is insane. Also being able to co-link them, depending on if you played cards like Link Spider or anything that pointed down, or made it to where you could just co-link and then just draw cards, was insane. I think that was one of the biggest advantages with these cards, is that when these cards came out, I remember the first time I played these cards was at the Nationals, where Trickstar Sky Striker was projected to be the best deck, and you basically, you know, you would just link away with the Scapegoat, you know, make your Link Spider, you know, then just start summoning these, and what these cards could do is just break apart your opponent's entire board, and it was insane. You know, being able to pop a special summon monster, back row, spin a card is nuts. And Griffin, I'm going to talk about at the end, because Griffin is actually my personal favorite, and we'll talk about that when we get to there. But yeah, I absolutely loved these cards. Now, come Master Rule 5, there's a lot of reasons why these cards will still be played. So first and foremost, they're still very good utility cards. Link monsters are still going to be really good. We talked about how Boral Sword and Appaloosa would be 2 of the best Link monsters in Master Rule 5. That was kind of a no-brainer. It's true, because for Link 4s, they really are the strongest. One gives you an OTK win potential. The other gives you the ability to negate a bunch of your opponent's monsters effects. It lets you play around Nibiru. So many great things. There was no reason not to, you know, talk about those cards and play those cards going forward. But what I like about all the Knightmares is they all add a different type of utility, and again, it comes down to what your deck is trying to accomplish. So Cerebus being able to destroy the special summon cards is important. It depends, you know, what you're trying to do. If you are going to play Link monsters, I'd say most likely everyone is going to look back at the 2 that everyone has been playing, but I wouldn't discount either of these other 2 either. So Cerebus actually did see some random play, and it was during when the Danger Thunder deck was in its first, like, iterations. It was because if you made, like, a Zombie Stein, you made anything, and you were able to co-link this card was nuts. You just summon this, you know, and then make it so that your opponent, you know, would be forced to negate, and, you know, you'd be able to keep this card alive if you co-linked it properly, and, you know, it made it to where co-link monsters could not be destroyed by card effects. So basically this card stuck on the board and then you could link climb higher, and yeah, it was pretty crazy. I actually had games where some of my opponents were actually playing this card and it like could start to slowly dismantle your board, and that's what was pretty crazy. A lot of people forgot about Cerebus. Now, do I think Cerebus will be the most played one in Master Rule 5? I actually do not. I don't think it will, but I wanted to talk about it too because again, it is one of the nightmares and it could potentially see play. There are going to be a lot of special summon monsters, especially since you're not going to have any restrictions on your zones and whatnot, so I think that's really important to take into account. And one thing I'll say about all of these cards, but mostly these two. So there's been one problem with these two cards for a long time, and you guys already know what it is. It's their freaking arrows. So their arrows point up and to the side. Here's the beauty of this. April 1st, that no longer matters. You literally can just make these cards, deal with the problematic card, and then continue playing. You're no longer limited by the restrictions, because I can't tell you how many times we all have been there. You're forced to make a Phoenix to pop a back row, and guess what? You don't have the ability to extend to make another Link monster. You want to be able to summon, you know, another extra deck monster, but you can't. I've had so many times where I've made a Phoenix, and then, you know, I'm wanting to get to a Colossus or a Titan, and I'm like one card short, or I get cut off by a hand trap or something like that. And then you're just kind of stuck. You're stuck because the arrows don't work for you. They don't work for you to open up more zones. But since Master Rule 5 is going to take that away, you have the ability to just summon as many monsters as you want, and I think that's pretty crazy. Granted, you still have to summon these monsters in the extra monster zone, but it's irrelevant. Put them up here, I can still summon all my monsters down into here, and I think that's pretty nuts. I'm like super excited about that. I think that's why a lot of players will start to play these cards again and play them even more going forward, because good utility cards are hard to find, and these cards have been the best utility cards since they were released. And yeah, I really like that about, especially for Cerebus and Phoenix, because that's the struggle they've had for the longest time, is if, you know, you get cut off from your summons, you're not able to further extend, and I think now that won't be a problem. I mean, it's fantastic. So yeah, I definitely see a lot happening with these. And then Unicorn, I love Unicorn. This card is just so good, you know, in the Thunder Dragon Mirror, just good in general. Like, I like the ability to just spin any card. Like, it's any card, and, you know, it does come up. Like, sometimes you're just trying to clear your opponent's entire board. You know, you pop a card with Phoenix, have another monster, link up into Unicorn, you know, spin another card again, you're able to co-link, you draw cards. Now, I don't know how often the co-linking will happen, probably not that much anymore, but just the ability to spin away your opponent's monsters is important. The fact that it's dark is important. The fact that it's, you know, it's a really just decent card, and, you know, for the time being until April 1st, you know, it does have a down pointing arrow, which does open another main monster zone, so that's super important. I like that a lot for any of your extra deck monsters. So yeah, I don't have much to say about that, but Griffin is the card I don't think that gets enough attention. So I personally love Griffin. A lot of players who have played this card know that this card is like the floodgate monster. You know, not only does it turn off you know, what do you call it, the link monster's effects, unless they're linked, it also, you know, can set a floodgate. I can't tell you how many times, you know, playing combo decks, you use this card and you set a summon limit, you set an Imperial Order, you set a anti-spell fragments, you set any floodgate, you know, you set into the graveyard with Curious, you set it with Griffin, and it's so ridiculous. And I think a lot of people don't give this card enough credit. It's not that hard to make. Once you've started link climbing, you just summon this, and, you know, its arrows are pretty good. You know, being able to point down, being able to do all that was amazing. You know, being able to point down was great. Usually you would put your Griffin, though, somewhere in the middle or whatnot, so that you would have access to all the other zones to summon your monsters. But I think the fact that it's still able to do its floodgate trick is crazy. I think that that's something we'll definitely see going forward. I've already seen draft lists of Spirals, and that's actually a deck that I will be profiling coming soon. You know, of course, I'm going to wait till I get Magician's Circle, or whatever that little thing is called, the level 1, that like changes the deck and makes it insane. And this is a card you play because you make a Curious, you know, you can send, you know, you could send a Floodgate, or you could send one of your Spiral like mission cards. You could do any of that. But I've seen a lot of players, like on Dueling Book, just, you know, I've seen them go Curious, send Anti-Spell Fragrance, make a Griffin, set the Anti-Spell Fragrance, you know, you build your board, then you flip Anti-Spell Fragrance against decks like Sky Striker, Orcus, any deck that plays a ton of spells, and guess what? They can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! It's pretty crazy. So Griffin, I think, is really, you know, doesn't get enough limelight, and I think it definitely is one of the best nightmares. You know, it does take commitment to making it and to using it in your combo, but when it does resolve, it's pretty crazy. So I'm an absolute, just huge fan of this card. I love playing this. I've played this card so many times in so many different versions of Thunder, the World FTK, so many different decks, just being able to set the Floodgate, or being able to just, you know, utilize utilize its effect to turn off, monsters' effects, not being able to use it unless they're linked. Like, that's so crazy. And, especially a lot of synchro decks, a lot of fusion decks, a lot of these decks will be coming back in April. They're not going to be able to activate their effects if you have Griffin, so that's pretty nuts. That's something to take into account, and I think it's underutilized, and hopefully that changes come April 1st. But yeah, that is the video, you guys. I just wanted to talk about the Knightmares today. I love these cards. Like, I absolutely love these cards. I've loved them since they first came out, and I definitely see more potential for them going forward. I don't think any of them are ban worthy. I think all the ones that are banned are going to stay banned. They're not probably coming back. And overall, I just love these cards, and I really like to know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you going to be playing the Knightmare monsters come April 1st? If so, which ones and why? I'm sure there's a lot more utility that could be mentioned. This is just the things that were on the top of my head, and I just really wanted to talk about it because I've had this video idea saved for a while, and I talked to you guys, some of you guys about it, and you guys loved it. So hopefully this met your expectations. But yeah, I absolutely love the Knightmare monsters. I think they'll definitely see more play in Master Rule 5, and I think that their utility will keep them around for a really long time, because even though you have 15 extra deck spots, if you do have the ability to put utility cards, these are some of the best utility cards you can play. But yeah, those are my thoughts. If you guys are trying to purchase any of these cards, feel free to use my TCG player link. It's in the description below. A portion of what you spend goes back to the channel. It helps me out, and I do appreciate it. Personally, for me, you guys already know my favorite is probably Knightmare Griffin, for all the reasons I've mentioned, and a close second is Knightmare Unicorn, and yeah, I just love them all. I mean, Phoenix is so generic. Like, I feel like every time you write a deck list, you're writing Phoenix, so I think we'll still see something like that going forward, and especially in April with no longer the limitations with the weird arrows. I think these cards will definitely be able to shine a lot more, and hopefully we'll see some crazy shenanigans. But yeah, those are my thoughts, you guys. Let me know yours in the comments below. Which is your favorite Knightmare? Which one are you playing the most? And which ones do you think will really contribute to more of the combo decks going forward? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.